Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Rolling Stories, a podcast brought to you by Rolling Airways, the transformation partners for SAP Success Factor. And in today's podcast, we are very happy to be able to host Mr. Vikas Verma. I would let Vikas share more about himself. But before that, Vikas, I'd like to congratulate you for being nominated and selected as Asia's 100 Power Leaders in HR over 2022. Congratulations.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks very much, and good morning to you.
Good morning. So, Vikas, could you help the audience to understand a bit about your background and how you arrived to where you are today, and most importantly, of course, your interaction and experience with HR technology?
Currently working with UOB, United Overseas Bank, headquartered in Singapore. We have around 26,000 employees. I've been here for around 4 years now, and I'm leading a portfolio which is not very common. So maybe I'll have to explain that a bit. It's called strategic HR and digital HR. So within digital HR, I look at HR technology, and strategic HR essentially focuses on employee experience, data analytics, change management, and workforce transformation. Before UOB, I've spent a fair amount of time with Aon Consulting, which is a leading human capital consulting provider globally. And I would say that most of my HR technology experience I will have to credit to my work with Aon, because that's where I got to work with clients across the world, in across industries, whether it is banking, hospitality, aviation, and IT. That's where I think I really got interested and learned a lot about HR tech.
Well, that's a really extensive spectrum of experience. And I also understand prior to it, you were also with IBM for quite a number of years as well.
Yes,
So very
yes, I
familiar and
was.
affluent with the technology aspect. But of course, migrating and bring all that across to the HR spectrum. Are you able to share with us what's the current HR tech stack that UOB is presently engaging with?
Okay, so we are in the, I would say, a transition phase. So probably I'll have to explain where we were and where we are right now and where we are headed. So, like many other organizations, we were on a on-premise core SCM system, which was essentially SAP. And as we moved on our own HR transformation journey, we were launching a lot of new HR programs, and that's where we realized that we need to relook at our HR tech stack. And so currently, we've just moved to Workday Core SCM. However, we do have a fair, I would say, a variety of systems right now. We have success factors recruitment, we have success factors learning. We are also using few chatbots for our hiring processes. Payroll is mostly outsourced. And then from a data management perspective, we have our own HR data lake, which also actually comes from Workday, the Workday Prism system. And so that I would say in the nutshell is our tech stack. Yeah, maybe one more thing to add is we also are investing quite heavily in employee listening. So we do have SAP's Qualtrics as well
Wow, that is
from an
really quite
employee
an
listening. Yeah.
extensive range. I'll be happy to really dive
Yes.
a bit more into it. But maybe before that, I also want to understand from you, especially given your prior experience in dealing with multiple different customers or companies as customers. Definitely, they will come to you or your company in their digitalization, transformation. Maybe they don't even know where to start to begin with. What are some of the common struggle that you see that companies, HR, was dealing with, still deals with when it comes to approaching HR technology?
So this is my take. I don't know if there's any research on this, but based on my interactions, I see two major challenges when I see HR technology or discussions around HR technology. First is, if you look at the history, HR system was never purchased or bought by HR directly. I'm talking about when we still were in the era of on-premise enterprise planning systems, right? So finance or your procurement function will be investing in an enterprise planning technology, and ERP software. And HR was almost bundled with that. It was such a small piece that it never made sense to go and buy it. I think PeopleSoft was a good exception during those times. They did a really good job. But generally, I would say that HR as a function never really built the muscles to understand and go and search for an HR technology. So I see that as a big capability gap of just sheer understanding of HR technology and what it can do for the people programs that we want to really launch. The second challenge that I see is of really creating a business case, because someone who is on a very legacy HR system, it may seem quite daunting to completely change everything, and the cost could be quite it won't be small, right? So and if I'm not able to make a good business case, we are talking about an HR system, so the ROI is there's not going to be any revenue, and all the outcomes are I would say they're not direct. I can argue that employee engagement will go up and then attrition will come down. All those things are real outcomes, by the way, but very difficult to put that on an ROI paper. So the tendency is to go with a piecemeal approach, because I'm trying to reduce my annual expense. So I'll say, okay, let me do a recruitment module this year. Then let me do performance module next year. Let me add a chatbot because I saw my competitor doing it in the through the newspapers or a similar podcast. So let me do that. So it's a very reactive approach, and what that leads, if you look back, right, any organization who's gone through this ad hoc journey, you will have like a plethora of systems, and you cannot get proper employee experience. Employees are getting bumped from one system to another. Imagine as a candidate, you're interacting with a chatbot, and this is real experience I've seen. You have shared all the information, then you got to get an offer letter. For offer letter, you're interacting on another system, and the worst is you may be asked to create your login ID and password all over again, and then you, for onboarding, you move to another system, and then you may be asked to enter all the system things all over again. So with integration, I think you can minimize some of these things, but I'm seeing from a process perspective, experience breaks. And then the data analytics, right? That's the whole promise of all this HR tech, that we can analyze data. And now your candidate data, your employee data, your exit data is all sitting in different places, and you can't even make them talk to each other. So the whole promise actually really falters. So I think that's where I see most of the discussions and challenges happening. That how really do we get proactive and create a proper roadmap and a business case for HR technology.
So in essence, you try to provide that optimum experience for the employee, just like how you would do it for a customer, with great customer
Yes.
service at every touch point that they have with the organization, which I do reckon is getting more and more important. Recently, I read an article that investment people from SoftBank, right now they are even scraping Glassdoor reviews of target investee companies to decide whether it is worth investing, because they do realize one of the thing when they want to put money into a company is whether they are treating people well. Because if you're not treating people well, I can give you $1 billion in investment. The whole thing is just going to implode ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can definitely resonate with that. What other aspects do you think in today's context, especially with the enablement and advancement of technology, allows companies, especially HR, to pursue and really to up their game and to improve the entire efficiency as well as the welfare of the organization?
So it actually I think there's a huge opportunity right now with HR, the way HR technology is advancing. If I if I look at maybe I take one simple option of again all these jobs that are rapidly changing, right? Now in the past we used to have career paths, right? So I'll tell you that okay, if you are a teller, what role can you take in the future? But now, with the advent of the talent marketplace, I can actually bring the end user, which is my job holder, and the different jobs and the training programs all at one place. And I can use AI and machine learning to really start predicting, of taking your aspirations into account, and start recommending you jobs, smaller gig project, learning opportunities, for you to really own your own career. So I can now get into like really personalization when it comes to your own career development. I don't need to sit with you, like we still need to have a conversation, but the platform really makes the job that much easier and that much more scalable. In fact, we are calling it like really making career mobility frictionless. That's one example where technology is really playing a big role. And I do see in years to come, a talent marketplace will become quite mainstream. when it comes to not just internal talent but external talent as well.
Especially on the blockchain aspect, I guess it's much more relevant in Singapore context with the introduction of the Compass framework. The last thing you want to do is for
Yeah.
different companies going to different providers and then just adding on to that turnaround time. It just doesn't make sense. So
Yes.
having
Absolutely.
a decentralized way to keep all this data definitely will help speed things up. On the metaverse part
Yeah.
of just like you, I am pretty 50-50 about this whole thing. Although at the VR aspect, I have seen companies doing fantastic job in coaching people how to use a POS system, how to repair trains, etc. But I think just like you, I'm in a way optimistically cautious about what is going on. But definitely, I think for the betterment of society as well as what we are doing for the organization, I'm very certain we are heading in the right direction. And with that, I would like to, before we let you go, where can people learn more about yourself, connect with you, as well as the things that you're doing?
Oh, I'm there on LinkedIn. I think that's the. I'm not very active on other social media platforms, but yeah, I'm definitely I'm happy to connect with more.